Hello there, traders. Welcome back to the TOGS Trading Podcast. Here we are, up to TOGS 31 now today, ladies and gentlemen. And our subject today is going to be kind of an interesting one, might be a bit contentious, might be a bit thought-provoking, as hopefully as always, is all about what do traders want from their brokers. So I have asked around a few people and asked for a little bit of feedback and comments, and some of you have sent some through, and we really do appreciate it, and we'll dig into that more in a moment. If you are joining us for the first time, TOGS Trading Podcast is really just about, let's say, two old war horses from the trading world, okay? Sort of just sharing the conversations we used to have in Keogh's pub in Dublin, just sharing it between ourselves and sharing with yourselves, just to give you an insight into what the reality of trading is really like. So, as always, I am joined by Big Ian in Dublin. Looking good, Billy Ray. How are you doing?
Fine. I'm slightly hungover, if I was quite honest, because I was out at an event last night, and unlike the guy who was with me who drank 2 pints and went to run a 10K this morning, I drank 10 pints and went home in a taxi.
So, you do the opposite.
Just do the opposite. Yeah, it works out. Everybody enjoys their own thing.
Yeah.
So it's, I did start dry November, so I have just cut back quite a bit, I suppose.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, you know, each time I was at a broker event last night in Manchester as well and stuff. And as we said, to be fair, it was very good. Right. To be fair, it was you know, it was solid and stuff, and there was free bar and free food and stuff, and actually the guy talking was Tom was an actual trader rather than a sort of a sales piece or a marketing guy and stuff and what have you, and you could tell that, etc. And yeah, it was good to hear what he had to say about the world. But yeah, thankfully I didn't have 10 pints last night, stuff, because I was 90 minutes away from home and stuff. So but there you go. Well done to you. You know, making the most of the free bar there, IOP, and stuff. Good on you. Good for you.
Yeah. Actually, it wasn't a free bar. I got 1 free pint.
Oh, right. Oh. All right. Well, there you go. Never mind. That's a bit disappointing. But all right. So before we crack on, how other than going out to trading events and stuff, how's the last week or so been for you since our last event last Wednesday after the election?
It's all right. I was basically I was doing larger trades, basically. Because what I've been trying to do, and I've been trying to do it for years now, really, and it's really hard to change your style when you've been doing it for a long time and it's been working for you for years. So I've been trying to do sort of longer trades because I'm just tired and I want to work less, you know, and basically having to sit there because I only work about 2.5 hours a day in reality. That's the actual trading time that I'm in it. And then when I'm in that time, I have to be on the edge of my seat. I'm doing actually quite a lot of, that's a lot of concentration. There's a lot of things that are going on with it. So I was doing sort of longer trades. Like I left on a trade last night, which is very unlike me. And I woke up this morning with plus 16 points or something. I don't know. Or plus, it should be more than that by now. It says probably plus 20, 25. So yeah, so it was okay. That was basically it. There was nothing else really particularly exciting about the week. Not since Trump's last getting in that day. That was that was a weird trading day. Like, I mean, it was because I found on the tick charts it was just, and I found I actually came out on a red day. The first trade I did, I was overexcited because Trump had won. And I was like, yay, let's get going with this trading thing today, and bang! Oh. And I actually found I ended up, I think, -8 that day, which is actually quite a hefty loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot for me. So, and that was just because the tick charts were a bit weird on that day.
Yeah,
and that happens. I've seen that happen before after big news events. Like, you know, it's just that the market doesn't really know what it's doing. It's fine in a 5-minute chart, but on the tick charts where I live, it was quite.
I love it, Ian. I love it. You love wandering into a minefield. You really do. You really do. Do you know what? Yeah. You know, it's you love it. Whereas I'm like, this is a bit of a minefield. Do you know what? I think I might go round this. In trading terms, you know, it's like trade tick charts on a post-election day. I'd be like, do you know what? You know, there's there's going to be an awful manner of volatility. This is a chance for you to get, for you to step on a landmine and stuff or whatever. But I always admire the fact you love it. You just get yourself stuck straight in. Fair play to you.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't allow yourself to be too successful. That wouldn't feel right. Your subconscious would scream at you if you journey beyond. And that's one of the big things, I think, that's one of the big things in trading. It's your subconscious that really drives the whole thing. Like, so for me, I have a thing. I don't like taking time off. I can't stand taking time off. So I work on days that don't necessarily make sense and trade on days, and that's always been the way it is. So yeah.
No. So I always admire it and stuff. But talking of people doing really well, as I was, I got the train up to Manchester last night. So when I came back, I was getting a taxi back from the station back home. I didn't know the taxi driver, a young lad. And of course, what happens to me is every time he asked me where I was, I said I was in Manchester. I was at an event for like financial markets for traders, and of course every taxi driver wants to share their opinion on markets, etc., and trading and what have you. And the guy was telling me, interestingly, he said about 10 odd years or so ago, him and his best mate, they used to buy and sell Bitcoin, but they would it was about $10 ago, and he would basically buy about $100 worth, but he wasn't buying it as an investment. He was buying it as a way to buy weed, all right, to effectively to buy weed and not be able to caught from it. But his mate bought and bought and bought, and his mate took 20 grand out, maxed out credit cards, and took that and bought 1,100 Bitcoin at, I think, what were like about $10 or so ago, and a whole host more, etc., and has held on to them since then, and is now, he reckons his mate, he says, I don't hear from him very often, but he's bought a big penthouse in Liverpool. They all think he's worth about 100 mil or stuff now because of the price and what have you, and he still hasn't sold any. And he said the interesting thing was, he said that he hasn't paid off the 20 grand credit card debt because he is so fully invested. He has gone GBD into digital currencies that he thinks it's pointless for him to pay off his credit card, and that debt and stuff. And I was like, it's just madness. The world, there's people going mad around the world and stuff and what have you. But then he proceeded to tell me what he thought was going to happen to markets and stuff and what have you. So there's always someone wants to give me their opinion, their view and stuff. I let them talk. I let them have their moment and stuff and what have you. And and then if it's interesting, he gets a tip. If not, I just get out the taxi and go at the end of my trip. But
completely different in Dublin, I think, at the moment, because with the increasing immigration, your taxi driver's level of English has gone down. And it actually makes it a much more restful journey, because you don't really then have to have a huge big long conversation either. Because I hate talking. Sometimes you get out of the end of the night, you're tired, you want to go home, and then you're supposed to have a big long conversation. And I had the same experience. They eventually go, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, I work as a trader." "Oh, I tried that," or "I want to try that." "How do you do it? What do you do?" And you end up having long conversations in a pulled up taxi about trend lines and flipping trade crossovers and all sorts of stuff. So it's basically
it's fraught. So anyway, listen, let's chat about the main thrust, so to speak, of TOGS 31. So I should explain that one of the reasons we're having this is that I am next Tuesday, 19th of November, I have been invited to be on a panel in London at the Finance Magnet show, which is the panel is all about, what do traders want? Okay. And so Finance Magnets is not like a retail trading show. It's the industry show. So it's, brokers and all the sort of tech solutions and companies around that. Okay. So it's an opportunity for me to sort of say on the stage about, what traders really want, not just purely from brokers, but, what actually traders want from the from the kind of the overall industry, okay, from what they actually need to help them with their journey. So I thought this was a great opportunity, A, for us to talk about our experiences, and B, for people to sort of pitch in with their ideas and thoughts. So I should caveat that I do a little bit of work for brokers. Okay, I have done over the years. Okay, I do the odd presentation here for brokers and stuff, just normally about trading education. I've never worked for a brokerage like that. I'm normally just basically a sort of a guy they invite in to come and do a presentation or sort of do a seminar, etc. And that's kind of that's the level of it. But I will admit my exposure in that sense. So, what about yourself, Ian? Okay, what do you think traders want from brokers as we start our conversation? Whether it's just for you or for others you've spoken to, what do you reckon?
Well, when I was sitting down doing this, I realized I could only really do it from my own point of view, as a person who uses brokers, and what do I actually want from brokers? Because there are other types of brokers. There's discretionary brokers and so on and so forth. That you're going to go to with €150,000, and they'll invest it for you. And that's not something I've used one of those in the past, and it was terrible. But so let me talk really about execution brokers. The ones that we're all sort of familiar with and all really need.
Yeah.
And the first thing I came up with was a reliable, stable platform. Because if their platform doesn't work, you lose money. It's as simple as that. And you'd be surprised. And it's the first thing that where you see problems with brokers is in their platform. Because if their platform, in my experience, like I have a 3-strike rule with brokers. If their platform has 3 problems, I leave that broker, because what you inevitably find is like 2 months later they've closed down or something has happened with them. It's even recently I was with a broker, a UK-based broker, and their platform started getting glitchy. And I rang them up straight away and said, "Give me my money back." And they were going, "We can't." No, eventually I got my money back out of them, but it took a bit of time to get my money back, because they were closing down. They hadn't told anyone they were closing down, but they were closing down, and that was literally the first place you could see it was the glitches on the screen. So the stable, reliable platform is number one. The second thing I had was super fills, because they don't all fill in the same place. And people complain about fees, but fees aren't as expensive as bad fills. If you lose one tick, it's $12.50.
Wise words.
Where you're paying €2.40, I think it is, in fees for an ES transaction. So if they fill you a tick better, you get $12.50 more. Where your fees, if they charge you $3 or whatever, it was $2.40, I think, at the moment. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. It's more expensive. Fills are more expensive than any fees or anything like that are ever going to be. Quick access to tech support.
Yeah.
When things go wrong, there's a few reasons for that. One is that I want tech support to be open in my time zone, and that used to happen with the broker I'm with at the moment. But now they're open. Now they're open early in their morning, and their US morning, but not which is my afternoon. So you want access to them for 2 reasons. First of all, when you're ringing tech support, it's an emergency. You have only a few hours of trading time every day, and you don't want to spend 2 hours on that to tech support. My broker's actually okay with tech support. Like, I find them pretty all right. And one of the things I find is because I'm Irish and they're all American, they're all fascinated, to a certain extent. And I just don't tend to be very hassly or aggressive with them on the phone. Because you can imagine if you're in tech support and a broker's and somebody is, they're locked in a trade that's down 40 grand, they're just going to be shouting obscenities at the other person. I'd say it's the worst type of customer support you could ever work in is tech support and brokers. So time zone, opening my time zone, and being accessible. That's really, really massive, I think. An easy, intuitive platform. You're going to learn it anyway. I just put it down, but you are going to learn what their platform is like. But it is nicer if it is easy and intuitive. And then it starts going into, like, you'd like some of them to have all the bells and whistles, like TOS, Thinkorswim has more than TradeStation. They have more bells and whistles. They tell you where the gaps are, for instance, and all that kind of stuff, where I have to manually work that out. With like, what was the close yesterday? I have to literally go onto es.de and find that. So, I find that that sort of thing that they don't tend to have it. And as we were just at both at things tonight, free events.
Yep.
I think free events are fantastic, because you get to meet your broker. Just saying that when you meet your broker, sometimes you just want to wash your hands afterwards. Some of them are special people. Free events, it's nice to get out free events, and a lot of the time they don't do it as much anymore since they had all those rule changes there a few years ago. But they used to be fantastic events on for brokers. Free everything. Terrible comedians, as you can remember from one of them.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. God, I remember that one. And he was awful, wasn't he?
He was kind of bad now, in all fairness.
Yeah, and he was comically bad. Yeah,
he was. Yeah. He wrote a lot of famous.
I know, and I don't know why.
TV shows.
We should put some data on this. So we were at a trading event. We won't mention the broker. It was in a nice place in Dublin, and they decided they would get a comedian to come in and do a bit of kind of halfway through the day, a bit of entertainment, and he was shockingly bad. He was shockingly bad, and because I wasn't laughing at his jokes, he started picking on me and stuff. And I don't mind. Those people who know me know I give out abuse to people quite a lot, but I have I actually love if people give me really very humorous, sarcastic, dry humor back. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with that at all. In fact, I quite like it if it's clever and sharp. But he was awful, and we were just sat there thinking, how is this lad had like a 20-odd year career as a comedian? He's atrocious and stuff. But anyway, I apologise. Yeah, God, you remember?
He wrote lots of
10 years ago, maybe was this? God,
probably around that. Yeah, and he had wrote lots of like famous, really good.
Yeah, he's a famous guy. We won't mention his dad. Well, I know who he is, but but it was. Yeah, I mean that must have cost a fortune, and in fact, actually, do you know what? They could have saved themselves a load of money there, and actually just got someone to sit in and talk about trading and stuff, and do you know what I mean? And Anyway, sorry, sorry,
it was fun. Rant there. Yeah, and then a lot of the brokers, even the last one standing, seems to have stopped all those real good events, like that there used to be like quite but they don't seem to be on anymore, unfortunately. Regulation.
Yeah.
You have to include regulation in everything, because it depends where they are regulated, how safe your money is, what they have to do in the event of something gone wrong, so on and so forth. Also it covers your margin leverage.
Yep.
Where the regulator can cover your leverage.
Hangover's kicking it in.
It is, yes. I was kicking in all morning. It'll slowly improve as the day goes on. I'm still going to go up and trade. Well, I have to actually, because I still have one trade on since yesterday, so I have to go up.
Another. There he goes. Goes. Walking into the minefield. There you go. God on you. God love you.
One of the reasons I don't leave trades on overnight is because I'm dying now to check it, to see if it's there, so I can either silently or quietly say, "Oh, look at that! I'm up 40 points," or
"Oh,
but that I'm not up 40 points."
Yeah,
reverse slightly, hit a double bottom there. So anyway,
there you go.
Yeah, good sim account. Because most people, one of the things is that you tend to, a lot of people stay with the first broker that they open. Their entire journey is with that one broker, because most people only last 90 days anyway, so it doesn't make much difference. But
that's it. And I have to thank Martin. He sent me in a piece about that. So I said a few people commented in. I'll give my own thoughts in a moment. But yeah, Martin, he messaged in about how an awful lot of brokers now, they give you like 30 days on the free, on your free sim, and then you're kicked off. All right. And I can understand why the broker wants it, because they do want you to move towards live trading. All right. But actually, for some people, and I am a full proponent that you do have to move to live trading. You do have to, but if you start your journey and learn how to use a platform and learn how to understand markets and stuff, being able to use a demo platform for as long as you can until you move to live makes a big difference, because as you pointed out, as Martin pointed out, the one they the one people go to first is normally the one they trade live with as well. And I suppose maybe that's a thing for brokers as well to take on board. So yeah, thank you for that, Martin. And also, I would agree with that commentary as well.
One of the things I found with people with sim accounts is, particularly day traders, is that they look at the fills that they get on sim accounts when they're testing their systems, and then their system looks profitable because of the fills they're getting, basically. And then they move over to, which I spend ages trying to explain to people. When your price is hit in a sim account, they fill it there regardless of liquidity. They just, there's no... Yeah. So it's not the same thing. That's the biggest problem I find with sim accounts for people. And also, people staying on sim accounts too long, obviously, is a thing. But you have to stay on a sim account for as long as you need to stay on a sim account. There's no sense in being live when you're not ready for it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Exactly. No, you're absolutely spot on there. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Yeah. Anything else, or should I let you have a rest?
Also, you want to have a good sim account, because sometimes, if you're starting off, like if I had a crazy idea to do something completely different, that, some sort of setup, like the first thing I do is I test it out in the sim account just first, because it's the, and then what I do is I try and move to a spread betting account.
Yep.
For a very small amount of money, because you cannot, you either make money or you lose money. And if you can make, spread bettors are like New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, so if the works on a spread betting account and you go live with contracts, it's definitely going to work on the contracts. So I find they're quite good from that point of view. Don't screw with your trades. I've had this problem with brokers before. I have lost in one transaction, lost €30,000 due to basically a broker from a different continent, which is much lower down, screwing with the trade, basically. And it was a trade that was in drawdown. They were forced to close the trade, close the thing, and take the drawdown, which is not something that would have wanted to have been done. Well, it's actually somebody else was managing the trade for me. They screwed up as much as the broker screwed up, because there's no way you should ever be down €30,000. And but the broker came along and shut the whole thing down. And they shut the whole thing down because of their technical needs, as in they were switching from one server to another server, and more likely they were changing from one liquidity provider to another liquidity provider, but just not telling anyone. I'd say that was probably even more of it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, and then so they forced me, in effect, to take a loss that I was not prepared to lose. So the screw, and with spread bettors, one would suspect that there is often some manipulation that goes on with your spread betting accounts. Not that I would ever have to accuse anybody of it or anything like that, but you get stopped out in weird places and stuff like that. Size of broker, more famous, probably safer, bigger, safer. Not necessarily that one equates the other, but probability is that they're a household name broker in trading terms. Then, excuse me.
Right.
It's just too much Coke Zero. Drank it too fast. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, size of broker. Anyway, not that it's a guarantee of anything, but the probability is. And I don't know, did I actually mention fees as well? Fees. I mentioned them in passing, but some brokers' fees are bananas. Especially Irish brokers buying and selling stuff. It's some of their fees are
some of them it's very their fees are a bit opaque, difficult to understand, cipher and stuff, and you can't help but wonder whether that's done on purpose, basically, because it gives them the window to be able to basically manipulate as and when they see fit and stuff, etc. So some very good points there, Ian. Some really good points there.
Just saying, that's a very timely comment in a way, because I opened a sim account on Spread Bettors this morning because I want to change. I want a separate account to test an idea, and and I was looking at their pricing, and their headline pricing and their real pricing are completely different. So when I was talking to, I rang up and asked the broker, and he explained, "Oh, it's only this and that and the other." And then when I was looking at it this morning, it was way
Yeah,
higher. They were
yeah.
in the ES. They were looking for 7 ticks
Well,
spread, which
that's
is
the spread.
spread of 7 ticks. Yeah. So I was kind of like, "What in the
Yeah.
what is
No.
7 ticks? Is spread is massive." A lot of my trades are only 2 points in size anyway. They're 2 points in that. That's how
Yeah.
far they go a lot of the time. It's certainly more than. I mean, to have to put 2 points, and I haven't worked out exactly what that, but having to put 2 points on top of yourself before you start
Yeah.
trading is
Yeah.
is just ridiculous.
No.
Um,
That's a good point.
Brokers who actually when you talk to them, actually understand what they're talking about. It's nice.
Yeah, that's true as well.
A
Yeah.
lot of times
And it's something I recommend people. I know brokers don't particularly want it. They would much prefer people to be able to interact with them sort of, online through a chat bot. But the reality is that, you should call your broker. In the old days, you used to get two telephone numbers. You get telephone number for you get three. You get one for customer support, one for IT support, and one for the dealing desk. If you were still doing doing manual trades and stuff. And I would tell people every so often, just go and put a manual trade on, just phone up a dealing desk and get comfortable with speaking to the dealer. Every so often, you might get a bit of insight in terms of just how they're seeing the market that day, etc. It's part of it, but I appreciate brokers now. They want to basically that's a cost really to them, and they're effectively just basically wanting to shift towards that. So, which comes back to the point you made about good customer service, and I do say to people, in terms of the look for brokers, especially right, and I appreciate I am a bit biased, and I'm fortunate that I'm here in the UK, but it should affect the FCA regulated, all right, UK regulation. Right now, I appreciate that also means lots of people get upset because it means that they have tighter elements in terms of marginal leverage that are available to you. If you're risk managing your trades, that shouldn't really be a major issue to you. Okay, the people who want 1 to 500 leverage are basically the pump and dump merchants who basically show up and blow up, most of them, etc. But you are looking for FCA regulated. I tell people that and not only should be FCA regulated, you should basically be able to physically see that they have a building in London and UK, and actually go there if they have an event there. If you phone up, you should actually be able to speak to a human being. These are kind of small things, but actually, and brokers may not particularly appreciate them, but actually for lots of people who they're trading at home on their own, stuff like that actually does have huge benefit. Okay, it just gives you a feel that you're actually dealing with something or someone real, rather than some dubious website based in Belize that is giving you $100 joining bonus, but actually the likelihood of you ever actually seeing your cash again is just is limited at best. So yeah, you shouldn't. For those of you that start your journey, make sure you've got proper regulation with a proper broker that has a location. If you're in the UK or Ireland, in London, that you can physically go and see. You can actually phone up and speak to someone. If there is, you said it yourself. Most of the time there isn't a problem, but when there is a problem, you want to speak to another human. That's it. And that gives people confidence. All right, that gives people confidence. All right, rightly or wrongly. People think that actually another human is going to sort their problem out. They might not actually be able to based upon the problem, but it is that sense and that feeling of it. When I considered this, I kind of broke down into sort of kind of three groups. So you've got let's call them the professionals who are either probably trading under a professional trading status, or have been trading, whether it be for themselves or a small institution, etc. For the majority of those people I deal with, what they're after is they are after tight spreads and excellent fills, proper execution, okay, on the money. That probably doesn't come as a massive shock to anybody hearing that people would want that, okay, and that's what they will focus upon. That shouldn't really, that shouldn't be really revolutionary to anybody. All the other stuff, the kind of bells and whistles, is not necessarily as important as long as they're getting excellent execution, tight spread, small costs. That's what they're looking at because of the size they're moving at. And then you've got at the other end of the spectrum, you have the complete beginners. Complete beginners don't know what they don't know, have come to trading through either, I don't know, an online advert, or they've watched some YouTube clips, or their mate has been talking about it in the pub. All right, they don't know what they don't know. They want everything for free, but the reality is that these are the people who make up the vast majority of that terrible statistic about the overall industry, etc. And so they are looking for free education, all right, and that education, and listen, as I've said, I do provide webinars for a couple of brokers have done over the years, etc. And I always try and share something that traders can use and take away. It's simple enough that they could take away and work it and meld it into their own way of trading the next day. But then some of the education offered by other brokers is either too high a level, all right, it's too high level and just confuses everybody, or has clearly been developed by the marketing team at the brokerage rather than the actual sort of dealers or even the salespeople. The marketing team have come up with a beautiful, lovely, fluffy, very pretty sort of trading education piece, which actually provides the marketing people with a case study that they can use to put on their CV to help them with their own career progression, but is actually not always terribly helpful to actual traders because it's full of false promises or just it's stuff that is not really helpful to basically retail traders at home and stuff. So the beginners are the ones who do need education. They do need things like the odd seminar, etc. They do actually really welcome the opportunity to basically to get out and see people. I think we might have said in the last one, I was in London a couple of weeks ago, and just mentioned I was out there, and people are contacting me wanting to come and actually have a pint, a chat, because the vast majority of people are at home trading on their own, and actually a little bit of social connectivity, old school kind of social connectivity, is very much welcomed. And you and I have been to quite a few events over the years, haven't you? And stuff, and some of them have been very good. Some of them have been really. And I don't just mean because there's a bit of a chat and stuff and a free beer, but actually get to meet some interesting people and have some interesting conversations, and and help you on your own journey. A few of my oldest trading buddies, when I look back at stuff like Steve and Patrick, etc., I met them at broker events years and years and years ago, decades ago, and I'm still friends with them and stuff, and we're still, buddies, etc. And I think that's a hugely beneficial. It's a hugely beneficial thing. It's now it's not for brokers to create communities, all right. It's not for them. They are a business, all right. Let's not get too fluffy and flowery about it. They are a business, and their job is to basically be a middleman and help you engage with financial markets. However, I do find that the ones that have created those communities have had the clients who have been the most loyal to them. So there is something that brokers could learn from them. So yeah, as I said, I've got like professional group at one end, complete beginners at the other end, and then in the middle is the kind of group that sometimes is overlooked, namely the kind of intermediate traders, those who've been trading for 1 to 5 years, who have basically who are in it because they love it, they're engaged, they want to improve, they want to get better, they want help with their trading. Okay, they're maybe not consistent profitable, all right, they might have periods of profitability, or they might just be struggling one or two challenges, and I think this is where I think that's where brokers could really make a difference. All right, so that's where I think brokers could really help in terms of how they operate, how they work. But I suppose it also is a case of how does how does the broker do it in a way that is basically cost effective to them? And the reality is brokers are never really going to tell you that information and stuff. But my view has always been, I've always thought that one thing brokers could do to help is for clients who are, of a certain size or of a certain experience, providing something like a squawk box, okay, access to a squawk box, okay, even if it is just even if they are just basically, rebadging, a squawk box provider and providing it out there, okay, I think that's the sort of thing that would attract traders, all right? That's what the sort of thing would keep those kind of active traders. A squawk box is anywhere between, well, it can be anywhere between 150 to 450 quid a month these days, depending on who you go in it. And so actually, having access to that as one of them as part of, your trading account, I think would be something that would probably intraday traders would find really beneficial. And I think it would be very helpful. Now, what we don't see is how compliance operates in brokerages these days. And, and lots of the brokers I see or speak, they hold the power these days. They hold the power and stuff, and anything that's remotely exciting, there's a real, what's the word? A real culture of avoiding risk, in that sense. But yeah, I've often said a squawk box would be helpful. I use when I find it really helpful to myself, etc. So, what do you think brokers could do to actually help intermediate traders, Ian? What would you like to see?
Well, first of all, just to acknowledge, it's the hardest part of trading is being an intermediate trader. It's much harder than being beginning, and it's harder than being a professional trader. The intermediate one is just a big valley of death, because what they are just slower losers. A lot of the time, because when you're in that sort of 3 to 5 year period where you've invested quite a lot of time in trading and a lot of effort in trading. But it's probably, if you're unmentored, especially if you're unmentored, because the whole timescale changes completely if you're mentored. You're up for a while and then you lose it again. You're up for a while and then you lose it again, and it's a really difficult thing to everything technically. It's just the emotional side of it isn't going to change. So, what kind of education they could do for that would be probably all around trading psychology, really, because everybody, people all fail because of the same reasons, and they all fail for the main reason, which is just fear. They do things to compensate for being afraid. Creating a community, yeah, it's a good idea. And, they used to be quite, like with meetup groups and things like that, they used to be quite supportive. You could ring up IG Index, for instance, and get a room, or some of the other brokers would. You could ring them up and get a room and put on a lecture, and they put on tea and coffee, and it was all very lovely of them. And it's a good idea because it does keep people, because then it becomes part of their friendship circle. It's like a men's shed or something, for traders. It keeps people in it longer, I think, if you have, and it makes people competitive. I'm doing better than you, you're doing better than me, I have to work hard, or whatever. It makes people more competitive.
Yeah.
And from a broker's point of view, that means that they're turning their account probably more. The only thing I find about all these things is it's everybody's the same age as me when I go into these things, and there's nothing slightly as disheartening when you go into a room with a bunch of middle-aged, overweight men talking about charts. Sometimes you're like, yeah, it's
come on, Ian, you love it.
Well, I like getting out of the house, but sometimes when you go into some of these things, you're like, oh, for God's sake, and then somebody's sitting, and a lot of them are doing stuff. You're talking to some of the traders, and you're like, why would you do something like that? Because a lot of them are buying, stuff.
Welcome to my life.
Traced down, and they're trying to buy it when it's at the bottom, and you're going, everything is on it. Even when the market's in an uptrend, they're trying to buy these stocks that are beaten down, expecting them to go back up. And I'm like, why would you do that? Just buy something that's actually trending upwards. God almighty.
You have to curb your tongue.
One of the other things I find when I go to a lot of these events, because I'm self-trained, is a lot of the jargon. I just don't know it. I know what it is when somebody says, But sometimes I'm listening to lectures and I'm start taking out the phone trying to Google what does that actually mean, and then I go, oh yeah, because I've seen it.
What
Like,
is a trend line?
yeah, but I wouldn't learn seen the name of them.
Yeah.
It's and that even last night now I was sitting there at some stage and they were bland on because brokers have their own language
Yeah,
effectively. That like
yeah,
every business. And I learned it by looking at it and seeing it. So I just don't sometimes simply just don't know what in the hell they're talking about until somebody explains it slightly and I understand it because I've seen it a hundred times. Oh, one of the other things we forgot to mention about brokers is good phone app. Um,
yeah,
so many people trade on their phone, which I think to a certain extent is like I can see a reason for doing it. But if you're trying to chart and read on your phone and do everything on your phone,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
small screen. It's not designed for that kind of thing. It is, but what it is really good in an emergency. Like if your internet goes down or your computer goes down or something goes
exactly.
wrong, you can still get out, which has happened to me. Like I've had to get out of trades the internet went down here a couple of years ago, or the electricity went off a couple of years ago. They were doing something with the road and they hit a power line. And I was in a trade and the only way I could get out was using my phone. Quickest
Yeah,
way
I don't
was
know.
using my phone. And that saved me quite a lot of grief. So I thought so it's a big thing, like but
Yeah,
yeah. No, definitely one of the things like when I do mentoring, um, it's really the 3 to 5 year ones that benefit the most because I wouldn't bother my backside really dealing with somebody who's only starting off, and that's because there's so much free information available. They can go to a broker event, they can go online, they can
totally.
just to find out what a trend line is or what a moving average crossover is, or that kind of stuff. They can find an awful lot of that online. That mentoring that type of person is not it's not necessary to a certain extent. Like, I mean, if they have money to spend, like, not that I charge, but if they have money to spend on that kind of stuff, then yeah, great. But it's the 3 to 5 year traders that really need the little push. Um, and they need the motivation as well. They need to be motivated by you as part of your process because it's a terrible phase if you're just sitting in your room and you've done this for years and years and years, and humans are not designed to take that much failure. We can take a certain amount of failure before it actually really starts to affect your mental health. And
Yep.
and if you're sitting in a room isolated from people trying to learn how to trade, and it's not going well, and you spent years doing it, and you don't know where the other side of it is, then it's they do need a certain amount of, and that's another good thing as well for getting out. Well, there's a good and a bad side about it. When you go to a broker event, you meet other people in the same boat, but then more often you meet people who are lying because
Yeah,
when you meet a lot of intermediate traders, because it always reminds me of this one guy came on talking to me one night, and he was basically, he was trying to explain his system, and I was in the back of my head, I'm going, that can't work. That just, you wouldn't get your feels like whatever it was, I can't remember. And he's going, no, it does works, yeah. And he was so dedicated to saying that it was working. I kind of went, okay, fair enough. Then if it works for you, I don't know how it does it, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And he went on, and he was charging people $100 an hour for mentoring, and
right.
now he works in a gym.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
So that's one of the things. 90% of the stuff that other traders say to you about their own trading, I think in these events is probably bullshit. They're just, they haven't made money in a while. You've grain of salt, pepper,
yeah.
uh,
But it's that you
salt,
hear me
pepper,
say
salt.
about it all the time. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. All right, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of that. With the people. talking to completely new traders and using some of the jargon, especially some of the jargon you wouldn't understand, to basically, to give themselves some sort of kind of, kind of a social legitimacy and stuff. But the reality is that, after a while, it doesn't take much to start to identify who are the guys and girls who are the real traders, and who are the wannabes and stuff, who are the Walter Mitties, so to speak. So it's but that is, and listen, that, you might say, in many ways, Ian, that was also a contributor to us starting this podcast, is because we would see lots of people on social media talking utter hole, weren't they? Just talking utter nonsense, etc. Clearly have no idea what they were doing and what have you, but people lap it up because maybe it's exciting, or it's all a bit it's all a bit slick, etc. And the reality is that that's not the truth and stuff. And what I want to always to be able to do is to share the reality is that, what, as to be fair, as the guy said last night and stuff, trading is not rocket science, but then neither is it easy. All right, it's it is about finding your own groove in that, okay, on that spectrum, finding your own place, and there is a place for everyone, but it can take people time to find it, and that the length to find that will take as long as it takes. That's all I can say. That is all I can say on that. But in terms of what basically what traders want from brokers is that, as you said, you want good regulation, all right. You want a good business, all right, that isn't going to blow, all right. Just going to, as you say, here today, gone tomorrow. You want a platform that is easy and really, that, to be fair, that's a podcast in itself about which platform you should be using, because there are so many these days. But you want a platform that is intuitive and easy to learn and easy to access and trade through, and you want decent spreads, all right, and you want, what I've always said is that, I would sooner pay fixed spreads, okay, even if that's, even if, I don't know, let's say you're $1, you might, these days you'll be offered like 0.6 to 0.8. I don't mind paying 1.5 spread if I know I'm getting 1.5 spread constantly. If it is fixed, and also they respect that, then I'm okay with that. The kind of, what should we say, the kind of selling you the hope that you're always going to get half a pip spread on your $1, but then actually, because the spreads are variable, the moment you try and put a trade on, whoop, it jumps to 2.5 pips, etc. That's what the sort of thing that kind of drives me up the wall a bit. But anyway, that in itself is a podcast, all right, okay, dealing with that. But being able to just provide, okay, good tight spreads that are executed at the when you're clicking the button, rather than just as and when it suits them. All of these things are quite simple things, but actually it's the sort of thing that does make traders happy and stay relatively loyal. And then they will stay relatively loyal, I think. I think I've got a few of my first brokerage accounts and stuff. I still have them. I use them as my like the HOS account, the Hero or Zero, for testing stuff and what have you these days. But I still have them all those years later. Because those brokers were right. There are others that I left. A couple of them left rapidly because most of them, because their customer support or their fills were just shocking. And, I was just like, well, fine, I'll pull my money and go elsewhere because I can.
Yeah, you just said that. One of the free brokers, the ones that are discount brokers that you see, they're not free. They're going to get you somewhere or other. They're doing something to make money. They're giving the illusion. So they're saving you probably $250 on your transaction fees, and charging you 3 ticks or something like that, which is going to cost you 36 quid, basically. And I think that's one of the things there's a big misnomer about free. Free is not free. It's getting you into exploit you in some other way. So often you're probably better off paying, really, because it gives you a better choice of broker that you can actually use besides
totally.
Nothing is free. Going to some of these for free. free brokers. Yeah, there isn't really an awful lot more else in some ways you could say about brokers, because they are kind of a fixed thing. They're a thing that you need to use. They're the paintbrush of fine
They're
art.
the middlemen. Yeah,
They are,
exactly.
yeah,
They are the
yeah.
middlemen. They're
And
allowing you to engage. We can. Everyone loves to bitch about the broker, but listen, they're there to facilitate business, all right? And get it done and stuff and what
yeah,
have you. And do you know, I've listen. But like every industry throughout my whole life, all right, in terms of there are some good people in that industry, there are some not so
yeah.
good people in that industry. But as I said, every industry I've ever had dealings with, it has the spread of the human condition
Mm.
throughout it and stuff. And it is just about on you to basically to find your own path through it and stuff. And hopefully maybe podcasts like this will help just give people just a little bit of insight into the sort of things they should be looking out for, rather than being caught out and stuff from that.
Oh yeah.
So
Just last thing I was going to say. I have a story. I think I
yeah,
told the story before, but I was one night I got a text message. Do you want to go to it? It was an informal like Friday evening pints from with brokers in a bar 200 meters from my house. And so I said, yeah, great. I'll go down and have a drink with you. And most of them didn't know me anyway. I was I only knew one of the brokers, and they were from a few different brokerages. But one of them caught the back of my shirt to pull it out to look at the label to see if the shirt was expensive enough. Because if I was a real broker, if I was a real trader, I could afford an expensive shirt. So I was kind of a bit like, right,
yeah,
that's
I've had experiences like that. The thing I found is like people doing that. That's more about their insecurities, right? Because people like that, they're not real traders. That's just they've just put up their own hoop, all right, on just absolute nonsense. Do you know what I mean? I have worked and dealt with traders, exceptionally good traders who dressed exceptionally well, and also I've dealt with traders who are really good. Who literally, you'd think they were living on the streets. Do you know what I mean? It is just kind of it's listen, if someone did that to me, I would on purpose not deal with a broker like that. I would, just on purpose, just not to not play in those silly games. He's playing those silly games because he can't trade himself. That's what my view.
Yeah, I mean, and also, and to be honest, that brokerage moved back to London, and he would have lost his job, but 6 weeks later. But it's not, it just was. I suppose the mentality of some of them, what I've met over the years, are a bit like that, because a lot of guys who are brokers are, if you can't do it, teach. They're kind of, and that's almost the thing with brokers. I found in some ways, a lot of them would love to be traders, but they're not traders. They're a completely different type of person. They tend to be. There's a lot of gamblers in brokers.
Yeah.
A lot of they're salesmen. Really, it's not. Well, that's another thing. The sales trader idea, which is basically are not traders. They might do a small amount of trading, which the purpose is not for them to make money. The purpose is for them to have something to talk about when they meet clients. They are salesmen. They're not traders, and that's something that you can get confused with. You meet a bank guy and he's, oh, I'm a trader, and it turns out he's not a trader. He's a salesman who has bought Apple stock 3 times in his life or something, and that is, that's the thing on his. That's the name that he's given in his job. It's like an engineer in America can be a guy who's building a bridge or a guy who's cleaning toilets. It's not, which I've done myself. I was a sanitary engineer at one point in my career. But what was I going to say? And that's what they can be. So not all people who call themselves traders are actually traders. And the last ones is which is a lovely experience to go in and have once, but I'd stay one away from them. Those like big stockbrokers, the sort of almost Victorian concept of stockbroker, where you go in and sit down and eat your Marietta biscuit and drink your coffee and have somebody talk to you about your portfolio, which I have done in the past and got rightly screwed doing it. But it's a nice experience, because if you ever want to feel wealthy in your life, your Marietta, that is the most expensive Marietta biscuit you'll ever buy.
Well, there is that, there is that. The real old school Duke and Duke experience.
Oh yeah. It's quite a thing, you go and you sit in your reception and wait for your meeting with Mr. on floor 7. The lovely lady brings you
it's all part of it. Yeah,
It's
it's
all
all
part of it,
part
and
of
you're
it.
all paying for it as well, because the thing is, they're
Yeah,
going to be
and
a
you are
nice
paying for
building,
it. Yeah,
they're going to be in such a nice building, and some of their fees are just outrageous. Like, I mean, remember at the time in the Irish brokers, and they were charging you percent, like to buy a percent, to sell a percent, um, and then 1.5% to manage your
yeah,
account. So that
yeah,
that racks it up like 1.5%, because all they're doing is that they're talking to, they have a lot of the time they have a team of analysts, someplace, and a lot of the time they're just piggybacking off analysts in the UK anyway. And because I actually was talking to somebody about that recently, like they were basically going, well, we'll just bring the UK, and they're getting their ideas, and a lot of the times they're just really investing in the 6 or 7 large companies that exist in Ireland, and then a bit of Apple computers, and then some mid-sized tech firm that they think might do all right. And there isn't much management in it, but they're charging
yeah,
you that 3.5% to get in, and you will be much better off to just go and buy the S&P.
yep,
If I was starting
totally.
off if I was starting off tomorrow, if I
Yeah.
knew now what I knew, if I knew at 21 what I know now, I don't think I'd bother my backside trading. I'd just buy the S&P and said, sit on it.
Hmm.
Put everything, you put your savings into the S&P, get a job, just pile it in there. I mean, if I knew then I'd have just bought, as your friend did, Bitcoin. But this would be a very different conversation if I could go back to 2007 or something like that. God, it would be amazing, actually, how much
Different
money.
world, though. A different
Well, a
world.
different world, and it's when I started was 2007, and the markets were just going downward, and like everybody else was a long base trader. That kind of made it a bit difficult,
Yeah.
maybe, to be start off your first year as a professional trader in a collapsing market is now would just be a huge opportunity, but back then I don't really know what's
And
going
then you
on.
don't
And
know what you don't know, do you? That's the thing.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
and then you come out the other side of it as well, because I remember when it changed. It was March, and I can't remember the year. I remember it was March, and looking at the charts and seeing this Apple breakout at $60. That was before the split, for anybody who was not that old. And then seeing it pop up to $750. What a tremendous opportunity if you had the foresight to be just sitting there,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
always easy in hindsight, isn't it? Always easy in hindsight and
yeah.
stuff. But there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, this is probably it's probably a time for us to draw this to a close, anyway,
Yeah.
isn't it, and stuff and what have you. But hopefully you found that insightful. And listen, if you're listening to this and you've got any thoughts or comments, please, as I always say, you can email us, you can put it onto the YouTube channel, etc. We really appreciate it. Okay, really appreciate you subscribing and spreading the word. Next week is TOGS 32, which is all about just a conversation about whether we should be trading trends or whether we should be trading reversals. And I think that shouldn't be something difficult for us to talk about here. We should be able to. We've got plenty to say on that and stuff. We'll be there all
Summarize that
afternoon.
whole thing into the word yes. There you go. Tune in next week to hear me saying yes.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
to talk
That's
about
it.
ranging markets. That's what I probably, and I was just writing a little note there that it'll be ranging markets. I'll also be talking about quite a bit. Let's see, because that's what it does most of the time. And I love ranges.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. There's always an
Yeah.
opportunity. Grand. All right. Well, listen. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Ian. All right. Yeah. There you go. Good luck with managing that hangover and stuff. And
Yes.
for the rest of you, all right. Trade well this week. Have a good week, and we'll look forward to speaking to you soon on the TOGS Trading Podcast. Cheers, everybody. Thanks.
Bye bye.